All right, so that's an indication of just how strict and the measures that will be deployed by that SANDF team that's bringing our people home from Wuhan City in China. Coming back home, as you know, the number of people infected with COVID-19 has increased, 17 in South Africa. But those people coming back to South Africa, we believe, are going to be quarantined in Limpopo. The Inter-ministerial Committee on COVID-19, we believe, will be briefing the media at about 6 p.m. this evening. And there for us is our reporter Chriselda Lewis, who's in Polokwane. Chriselda, thanks so much indeed for joining us. So all eyes on Limpopo ahead of the arrival of these repatriated South Africans. Do we know for sure that this is the location for the quarantine site?
Well, Peter, will know that in just about 30 minutes when the Inter-ministerial will brief the media and announce the exact location of where those more than 120 South African citizens who are being evacuated from Wuhan City in China, where exactly they will be quarantined for 21 days. Of course, you'd know that 14 days is the incubation period. The rest of it is just to make sure that they're not in South Africa. Has been consistently reiterating that the South Africans who will be coming home from Wuhan City are healthy. This is nothing but a precautionary measure. But yes, Peter, great expectation. I think that the Inter-ministerial Committee will be announcing this place where I am right now. We'll wait for the minister to announce that at 6 o'clock today, the Inter-ministerial Committee. But where I'm standing right now, I can certainly tell you, Peter, there's been very tight security to come into this location here, just a little bit outside Polokwane, and some of the officials who are expected to guard this particular place arrived here. It's a bit of a hive of activity, kind of giving me a clear indication, Peter. Certainly the announcement that the Inter-ministerial Committee will make at 6 o'clock in just a few moments. And what I can certainly tell you, Peter, is that the South Africans who are to be evacuated from Wuhan City in China are still there at the moment. What I do know is that they've been given departure itineraries, basically, which will tell them that they're going to be picked up at certain pickup points in Wuhan City and will be taken to the airport. There's much anticipation, I can certainly tell you, Peter, because you know that they've been quite anxious to come back home. Have been waiting for them. Their loved ones have been waiting in anticipation for the South African government to act. So also what we're expecting at this media briefing by the Inter-ministerial Committee is for them to also release the results publicly this time of the Limpopo students who recently traveled to China, what their condition is. So that's part of what this broadcaster will focus on here today. But I think with great anticipation, all indications, perhaps, Peter, that the announcement that will be made at 6 o'clock is that where I'm currently is the location of where those more than 120 South Africans will be kept in quarantine for those 21 days.
The minister has been at pains to try and allay fears about the South Africans coming home, impressing that, look, these people are not sick and these are just precautions. But there has been concerns in Limpopo. I believe that the ANC leadership there has raised their concerns. What do we know about this and how this matter has been handled?
Well, the sense that we can gauge, Peter, is there is some unhappiness from certain quarters who want to understand how the Inter-ministerial Committee or government had chosen this particular place just outside Limpopo. I mean, we ran that particular story on all our platforms since very early this morning. So there has been a little bit of unhappiness pertaining to that. But certainly, I guess the Inter-ministerial Committee will best be able to answer in that press conference. We'll also ask what was their decision or what informed their decision to take or to make that move about where exactly these over 120 South Africans should be quarantined for those 21 days. And you can kind of understand the panic there, Peter, but government has been consistent in saying that the South Africans who are returning from Wuhan City in China, which is the epicenter of the virus, they are healthy. Remember the measures, Peter, that are being put in place here before they return to South Africa, before they get on that SAA aircraft. They will be screened once again once they get onto the aircraft, and screened before they get off the aircraft once again. So the entire personnel that got on that aircraft that had left OR Tambo International Airport in Johannesburg was there to ensure that if there are any challenges with any of the South Africans who will be returning, all the necessary measures will be put in place to ensure that before anyone gets on that plane, they are satisfied that their health condition does allow that. So I don't think the South African government is going to take any chances in ensuring that all those who get on that aircraft meet a certain level of health criteria before that happens. So remember, part of what is happening in that aircraft is that it's not just members of the South African National Defence Force. The South African Health Military Service, for example, is there. So you've got quite a number of stakeholders from different departments, to check their well-being, for example, how they're doing. There's a lot that really informs this kind of evacuation, in particular from an area like Wuhan City in China, which has been severely beaten by this coronavirus outbreak.
And I would imagine the minister later on will probably also have to calm people's nerves, because the infection number is rising and the number of provinces increasing as well. And we hear that there's now this first case of local transmission of the disease.
Well, absolutely, Peter. I think one can certainly understand. I think in the first instance, you would recall when government had announced that the first batch of those who had tested positive had been directly linked to those group of 10 that travelled to Italy. And then now, when it becomes clearer that there are other countries now that those who have tested positive for the coronavirus had travelled to, multiple countries in Europe, certainly that does raise a bit of concern. The issue in the Free State as well, on that particular aspect. Certainly we'll get more information from the Inter-ministerial Committee exactly how possibly that could have happened in this instance. So I think much more answers are coming up at 6 o'clock. All of that will be live here on the SABC News channel.
All right, Chriselda, we'll leave it there for the time being. So we're about 20 or so minutes away, 22 minutes away from that all-important media briefing. And Chriselda Lewis has been following that story for us, literally from here to there. So she'll have more details for us on that a little bit later on.